Howdy, I'm Austin Larson, and this is the Ex-Girlfriend Tattoo Podcast. Hope everyone had a happy new year, and we're rolling right into 2020. Thanks again for all the love and support. Thanks to everyone who's left a rating and or a review of the show. Thanks a lot for that. Gotten a lot of really great feedback about that last interview with Layla Beth, so once again, thanks Layla. A few days ago, I actually got a very kind voicemail from someone that I really admired growing up, and someone I still really admire, and he was just expressing how much he was enjoying the show so far. So thank you, Reverend Doctor. Glad you're enjoying the program. For right now, it's looking like this show is going to be a bi-weekly program with the occasional bonus episode thrown in there. Ideally, I'd love to be producing a new episode every week, but right now that's just not in the cards. Once the word's kind of been spread and the show starts growing, that might happen, but right now, between working full-time, just not being that experienced with the program, and not having all that many listeners quite yet, it's just not going to happen right now, but hopefully in the near future. I had the pleasure of interviewing a lot of different people for this episode. This is the first tattoos episode. Essentially, every interview is based around the first, sometimes only tattoo that my guest received. The first interview I got to record was actually a fan submission from a fan of the show, Darian, and she was kind enough to share her story. Hope you enjoy. We've got a great program lined up for you.
You're listening to the Ex-Girlfriend Tattoo Podcast.
All right, howdy, and you are listening to the Ex-Girlfriend Tattoo Podcast. I'm Austin Larson. I'm here today with my guest, Darian.
Hi, guys.
All right. Hey, Darian, thank you so much for being on the show. Congratulations. You're actually our first true fan submission on the program, so thanks for listening. How are you liking the show so far?
I think it's awesome. I think you have a very soothing voice. It's something that's like relaxing. You can listen to it like any time of day.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. So how many tattoos do you have right now?
So I have 7 or 8 of them. Lose track a little bit. I think 7. Yeah.
Hey, it happens. I know. It's always like, oh, hey, that's new. When did that get there, you know?
Yeah. I got like 1 on my back and like 2 behind each of my ears and stuff. So, you know, when you don't see them every day, you kind of like forget that they're there.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And so would you say that you were raised around the tattoo culture / tattoo industry?
All right. So my mom has always been afraid to get a tattoo, and my dad actually grew up getting a whole bunch of them. So I had to fight to be able to get one. My dad wanted to be the first one to bring me, but when I was 16, I gave in and let my best friend's brother give me a tattoo because I didn't want to wait. And that's where the mechanical pencil and the guitar string and the battery pack came in.
Oh dear, the mechanical. You said mechanical pencil, guitar string, and a battery pack.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
That almost sounds like Clue. Okay, so Dad had a lot of tattoos. Mom was, you said, pretty heavily against it.
And she wasn't against it. She was just afraid. She's a very closed off conservative person, but she does want one. She's just afraid to get one.
Oh, okay. So yeah, go ahead and tell us about your first tattoo.
All right. So we had been talking about it a lot at school. Like I said, again, I was 16, and my best friend's brother decided to create this makeshift jail version tattoo gun. And I wasn't even trying to get one. I was just hanging out at my friend's house, you know, taking some pictures on her little MacBook and whatnot. And her brother came running in and was like, Darian, let's do your tattoos. And I didn't know what I was signing up for. This kid didn't have any proper equipment or anything. And I just wanted one so bad that when I saw him print my picture off the computer and try and tape it to my skin and tattoo through it, I was like, oh no, it's okay. He knows what he's doing. And I let it happen. So when I walked out, it looked like somebody drew on me with a Bic pen, and I had to get one of them covered up, and I tried to get the other one fixed, but it just got a little bit worse.
Wait, I'm sorry. You said that he printed it off like a computer, like a printer, and
yes,
taped
like
it
regular,
on, and he used that as the stencil?
I swear to God.
Oh my God.
It was supposed to be the Fox racing symbol. You know, the word Fox with like the O is like the Fox head.
Oh yeah, I had a hoodie like that back in the day.
Okay, so I rode like dirt bikes. That was my thing. So I figured, you know, why not let me be this cool little badass bitch and get, you know, the Fox racing symbol on my hip. And he started to tattoo, and probably like 4 seconds into him doing the F, he was like, you know what? the whole thing is going to be hard. Let me just do the fox head. So I had like this random beginning of an F next to the fox head for a little bit because he thought it would be too hard. And then once the fox head was done, it looked more like a bear. And it was something I had to explain to a lot of people.
Oh, wow. Okay. And then, like, just curious, what do you use for ink? Was it just like India
It was
ink or?
No, it was tattoo ink. Like he had that. That was probably one official piece of equipment that he did have.
Wow. Oh my God. What sort of reactions did that get right after you got it?
Some people, I think they just wanted to be nice and were like, oh yeah, that looks cool. Because again, we were kids. But then, the other people were like, what were you even thinking letting him do that to you? I actually got scared that it was going to look so ridiculous. And I wanted to try and fix it myself. That the next day I took the tattoo gun and I was going to try and like straighten my fox head out. And I'd fixed like a whisker. And I was like, you know what? Never mind. I'm just going to leave it before I escalate this. Yeah.
Okay. And then so did that first tattoo experience kind of scare you away from tattoos for a while, or?
Not at all. To be completely honest, I fell in love with my tattoos just because they were so like mine, that I knew nobody else was going to have the same exact thing that I have and nobody else was going to have the same experience getting it that I had.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's one of a kind. Okay, so what was your first tattoo from a shop like?
So the first ones that I got from a tattoo shop were on the insides of my wrists, and one side says good and the other side says vibes. And that one I think was the first one I got as soon as I was legal and of age and could do it by myself. And I ended up going back to Jeremiah actually at Allegiance in Jewett City, Connecticut a couple times. He did the cover up of my fox racing tattoo and a couple more for me. And I think I fell in love with it. Didn't really get too scared at all. I thought it was an awesome thing. I thought, a million people around the world have crazy tattoo stories, and now I had one too.
Yeah. And go ahead, let all those people know about this show. I need all the crazy tattoo stories I can get.
Yeah, I was actually talking to a couple people, like letting them know, and I've reposted it on my wall a few times, so I could probably send a few people your way.
Well, I really appreciate that. Thank you. Going back to that fox racing first tattoo, did that tattoo hurt more or less? How did the pain of the actual tattoo compare to what you thought it was going to be like before you got it?
So I think that I was anticipating a boatload of pain, and I don't think it was really too bad. I think on the hip bone, I definitely felt it, but for it being as ghetto of a machine as it was, it didn't hurt half as bad as I thought it was going to.
Okay, would you say that the pain from that first tattoo, how'd it compare, I guess, from the first like homemade one? How'd the pain from that tattoo compare to, say, the first shop one?
Given the areas were both pretty sensitive, the first one was on my hip and then the first real one was on the inside of my wrists. I'd say they're probably like about the same. I wouldn't really say I could feel too much more of a difference, but that's coming from somebody whose most painful tattoo is probably on their pinky. So, don't know how much you really want to rely on my pain evaluation.
Well, sometimes those finger tattoos hurt, especially on the inside. They suck when it's going over the joint.
Oh, yeah.
So, those suck. No, it's valid. So that first tattoo, the fox racing one, would you say that just overall, do you regret that or not so much?
Not at all. I think in the moment, I felt like I was probably the coolest teenager on the planet. Like I said, everybody's got some sort of crazy tattoo story out there. And I think that mine is like something that I will never forget, and it's definitely a part of like my teenage years that I do make it a point to bring up if that's the conversation topic. Everybody talking about bad tattoos or something at a bar, I have a story, I got something to say, like I bet you I can beat you.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, I don't think very many people get tattooed through computer paper.
No, honestly, when you messaged me that at first, it took me a sec to realize. I was like, oh wait, like a stencil, or that was wow. I had never even heard that before.
That's what I'm saying. It's that different.
So earlier on the show, we defined the ex-girlfriend tattoo as something that's a reminder, whether it be a name, a matching tattoo, or really any tattoo that has a meaning, whether through the symbolism or just personal meaning that automatically invokes you thinking of something that didn't work out, whether it be a romantic relationship, friendship, whatever. So would you say that any of your tattoos fall under that ex-girlfriend tattoo category?
Absolutely. Actually, I had an ex, this guy I was with for like 4 or 5 years, and we wanted to do the whole matching tattoo thing, but we also didn't want to do the whole name on our body thing. So I guess if anybody else looks at my tattoos, they would have no idea. I have on the outside of my right wrist a crown, and my ex has a more masculine crown in the same place on his body. And the pinky tattoo is actually supposed to be, it's a Q over a heart. So it's supposed to be Queen of Hearts. hearts, and then he's got the K over the heart for King of Hearts. The only people that really know, that they match is me and him. So it's kind of like a bittersweet kind of thing, like I love them, and I do get asked a lot if I'm a Latin queen because of my crown on my wrist, which is hilarious.
Hey.
But, it's sad at the same time because you look at them and you remember when you were getting them and you remember why you were getting them and the reason for them. And it hurts a little bit, but, it's something that you're going to have forever now. So what's it matter?
Hey, I totally feel that. I also have a semi-matching, I guess. I have the orange and she has the lime, so.
Oh, okay. That's clever.
Right? It's fruity enough.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So what advice would you give to someone sitting down in the chair for their first time getting their first tattoo ever?
Breathe. I think that was one of the things I forgot to do at first is I was so excited and nervous that I forgot to breathe, but you definitely need to pace yourself there. I've seen people pass out in the chair before, and that's a scary thing. That's a needle with ink that's very close to your body. It's going in and out of you, you pass out. Who knows what your tattoo is going to look like after that?
Oh, yeah, and you might not be able to catch yourself. That's
no.
Hey, thank you again so much for being on the program. Real quick here before we go, anyone listening to the show you might want to shout out? Do you want to, recommend your artist, anything like that?
I mean, I will definitely recommend my artist. Like I said, Jeremiah. He's at Allegiance Tattoos in Jewett City, Connecticut, and he's been my number one go-to guy. He's great with any kind of words or art, color, black and white, everything. So that's my guy.
Awesome. All right. Well, once again, Darian, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being on the program.
Thank you. It was lovely talking to you.
Thanks again, Darian. Up next is another fan of the show, my good friend Bryson. Bryson and I go way back. I'm thinking probably middle school, if not elementary. Dude's awesome, and it was really great to catch up. I'm joined today by my guest, Bryson.
Hey, how's it going, Austin?
Hey, doing well, man. All right. Really want to thank you so much for being on the program today. Since day one, you've been just a huge supporter of the program. So really thank you so much for all the love and support that you've shown this show so far. Really appreciate it, man.
Oh, hey, it's my pleasure, man. I mean, you and I have been friends, I think, ever since really we started going to school together. And the fact that you have this opportunity to create something, as I told you, could be a big thing, which really it's going to be. I mean, come on. So to be able to be a part of it now, it's a pleasure.
Well, thank you, man. That's right. We grew up going to school together. We played Pee-wee football. I mean, oh my God. Our families went to the same church, bro. It was...
Oh, yeah. The whole confirmation. I mean, I think that's when we really started seeing more of each other.
Yeah, definitely. I wonder if we'd get dirty looks if we tried going to Sunday service these days.
I would... if the same church? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too. Well, happy as hell to have you, man. So diving right in, how many tattoos do you have right now?
Oh, ballparking now, that would be at least 12. I mean, my sleeve is composed of most of them, I would say.
All right, yeah. I mean, bigger ones, yeah, because you're, let's see, is it your right or your left arm? That's pretty much all done out now.
It's my left arm. It just has about one more session left, and then we'll be complete. Just the back of my arm. I mean, it's basically one piece now. You can sit there and point at individual ones. It's one thing.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. No, I feel that. Going back to growing up, were you raised around the tattoo culture / tattoo industry?
Sadly, I really wasn't. My mom, I mean, after my dad passed when I was 8, my mom just told me I couldn't get tattoos. My dad did not like them, so she was trying to support his wishes by me not getting them. And actually, a funny turn of events is that she actually paid for my first tattoo. And when she witnessed it, she was just in tears and was very happy about it. And ever since, she's been a pretty big supporter of my tattoos. For the most part.
Hey, all right. I feel, for the most part, I feel that. Okay. But yeah, one positive, one off the bat, and, mom kind of became a believer.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell us about that first tattoo.
Well, it is of a bugling elk. It is for my dad, as I said, who passed when I was 8. He just impacted me a lot. Apologizing in advance if I start getting a little emotional.
Oh, please. Hey, it's all good, man.
The tattoo just, it means a lot to me because sitting in those 4 hours with not the greatest guy.
Oh my God, wait, that was a special?
That was a special.
Shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, I try not to think of the fact it was from and all of the awful, lovely things he's, part of. I feel like I have a part of my dad with me every day because of that. It says not forgotten Sam 7 below it. And he was a police sergeant for the last 15 years. He was on the force in Arizona. And his call sign was Sam 7 for Sergeant 7. That's what he went by. That's what all of his police buddies called him. I thought it was a great way to honor him. He might not be the, happiest it was a tattoo, but it wasn't, he wasn't turning in his grave by any means over it.
Awesome, man. Yeah. Okay. And then you said it was a bugling elk, right?
Exactly. A bugling elk, as for some people who might not know what bugling is, it's an elk calling, making its noise, if you want to call it that way. It has its head thrown back, and you can see just basically down to its shoulders and chest, and it's just grayscaled. It takes up basically my whole right shoulder blade, and it was a long tattoo. Honestly, I didn't think I was going to get any more after that, because just sadly of himself, I thought all tattooing was going to be like that. But thankfully, I found Lauren. You know Lauren Emery.
Yeah,
I found him.
Lauren did my first piece.
Yeah, I found him, and I still travel back to see him. He's my artist. I'll always go back to see him.
Oh, I totally understand. Once you have a guy, you travel to that guy. I completely understand that bond, man. The elk was, and this might sound dumb, but so hunting was something that was kind of big between you and your dad, right?
It was. So I think it's kind of, common for police officers to be around guns, and a lot of them collect guns. So my dad was an avid gun collector, and from the age of 5, I was handling a firearm. Some people might cringe at that, my mom being one of those, but she had to step
I also
away.
grew up in Eastern Oregon, so
Hey,
I feel it.
So it really was. It's one of my biggest memories is going out to the gravel pit on the Indian reservation outside of Pendleton and just going target shooting with my dad. The elk, it was his last big hunt that he did when we left Arizona. So it was the last thing he did when he was in Arizona, like that he really enjoyed. It's just something I always remembered. It was a story I remember him telling me of that last hunt that he went on there. It just seemed very fitting.
Absolutely. Since we talked a little bit before this interview, one of my favorite things about that tribute piece is, I've seen a lot of cancer ribbons and the such, crosses, that type of thing, that I guess they memorialize a person's passing, but it doesn't really tell anything or celebrate their life, I feel like. And that right there, since you said that, hunting, shooting, that was such a big thing between you and your dad, it celebrates, what he loved doing in life. That's one of my favorite things about it.
I agree with you completely. And some people ask me why I got a piece for mourning my father. And it makes me sad that people think that people have these tattoos because we're still in mourning. Some people are. Myself, I'll always be mourning over my father's loss. But it's to celebrate, as you said, their life and what they did and the memories that you have with them. It's not to look at it and be sad. You might be. You're going to be. I've never been able to understand that, and it's happened more often than you would think, people calling it a mourning piece.
I feel that. It celebrates him.
Exactly.
So, kind of leading off, what kind of reactions did you get to that first tattoo? You were, 18? You were 18 at the time, right?
Yeah, I was 18. We were juniors. Being raised by a single mother, people always saw me as kind of a goody two-shoes, to put it plainly, because I was a mama's boy. I did this, did that, and took care of the house.
We went to church together.
Went to church, exactly. I was never in trouble and was part of band and jazz band and marching band. And, kind of, if anything, some people might have thought me as a nerd. I don't know. I could care less. But the reactions were priceless. People were in shock. There were some people who knew that I was getting the tattoo. Some people could just see it through my clothing, and they would ask, and, did you get it? Is that fake? That has to be fake. Who did that for you? Why do you have a fake tattoo? I'm like, no, that's 100% real. It's a real thing. I even had a couple people go up and literally just pull my shirt up just to see it. That was kind of off-putting, walking down the hallway and just all of a sudden shirts up because they heard from so-and-so I had a tattoo.
Yeah, that's not cool.
No, but it was a very interesting couple first days. It was at the end of our year, that junior year, so going into the summer and then coming back after that with another tattoo, thanks to my sister. So people were a little about that too.
I remember seeing you and Mason senior year with tattoos, and I was like, oh man, I'm just so pissed, because I didn't turn 18 till like 2 months after we graduated.
Yeah.
So I was like, damn it, how come everyone else is getting tattoos? But thank God I didn't get any of the tattoos I wanted in high school, you know?
Thankfully, I came up with this piece for my dad, and I've always been happy with it. But the first few ideas I had for it were trash, in my opinion. I would have not been happy with them. I would think if my dad were somehow able to see it, he wouldn't be happy. So I get that completely. I mean, there's probably a couple dozen tattoos I've thought of getting that I'm very happy I did it.
You explained it very intricate. I like how it has a lot of deep personal meaning. You know, I know it sounds so cliche, deep personal meaning, but no, I mean, you know, the call sign and everything, that's cool as fuck. It's especially because his name wasn't Sam, right?
No, his name, he went by Reed, which was his middle name, and his name was Franklin Reed Honey. If anything, he went by Frank, but everyone called him Reed. The Sam just happened to be because of the S for Sergeant. Sam was shorter than Sergeant, kind of the whole call sign type of deal, trying to be short with things.
Oh, no. And I mean, I love how, but someone looking at that, you know, oh, Sam, he was number 7 and just, but yeah. So did the tattoo or its meaning did it get mistaken for anything else, like right after you got it?
A couple people thought I was rebelling. People thought I was trying to be cool. I got a couple comments of, what are you doing? Are you trying to destroy your life? By the more religious friends we had in high school. You know, you and I ran in similar circles, so I think you can think of who I'm talking about.
Yes,
but
I can.
Once I explained it, everyone's reaction turned around. I mean, I said it was for my dad, and everyone that we grew up with knew I lost my dad. So I would just have to say it's for my dad, and that just shut anyone up.
This might be a little unfair now that I know who did that first piece, but okay, so the pain of that first tattoo, was it more or less than you anticipated?
So it was way more than I anticipated, and I feel like that was due to not having any patience. He knew it was my first tattoo. He knew it was a bigger one. I think it was more of a mental thing because now that I've gotten more done, and especially in sensitive areas, it wasn't the feeling of the tattoo, it was how was treating me. Just that, you know, I was a dumb kid who couldn't sit still. He was just very unhappy about that, and it wasn't a great experience, like I said, so I didn't think I was going to get tattoos again after that.
Completely understandable. I guess I'd ask if you regret the tattoo, but I mean, it's a tribute piece. Clearly not. The placement, is that something you'd change? Or, I mean, for your first tattoo, were you happy with the placement?
I was happy with the placement because I never thought I would get something that would show under, you know, I could throw a t-shirt on and everything would be covered. Simply due for, one, my family, because I didn't want to have to be dealing with my family, you know, oh, why'd you get this? Or, oh, why'd you do that type of stuff? I mean, they can't see it, they won't question it. After I started going down the old arm, that went out the window. I didn't care anymore. The placement, though, I like it because I surprise myself with it. It's not that I forget about it, but I'll catch it when I'm putting a shirt on in the morning, sometimes in the mirror, or when I get out of the shower, and it just makes me smile. So it's not like a constant thing where, like, I see the quote I have on my forearm, and I mean, I know where I can point to each individual letter if you ask me and tell you where it is, because I've seen it so many times. I don't get to see it every day. Like I said, it's a surprise almost every time I see it.
Yeah, no, I can totally feel that. I mean, I thought that 3/4 was going to be the absolute maximum. So since you've been a listener to the first few episodes of this program, you were there when we defined the ex-girlfriend tattoo. Would you say that any of your tattoos fall under that ex-girlfriend tattoo category?
You know, I can't really say, because none of them symbolize any ex-girlfriend by any means. I had an ex-girlfriend pay for one, which was honestly awesome because it was $300 I didn't have to spend.
Oh, hell yeah.
The quote I mentioned earlier, which is, it says, in the end, it's not the years in your life that count, it's the life in your years. It's an Abraham Lincoln quote. That was my first forearm piece, and the lettering she paid for because she had gotten some stencil work done by another artist in there, and she paid for it while I was in the bathroom. And that was awesome. Relationship wasn't, you know, meant to be, obviously. That was her choice. So kinda, if you want to categorize it as that, I guess. I laugh at it.
I mean, I guess you found a way to slip it in there under the category. So yeah, I'd say so. I mean,
there we go.
Hey, I feel it. What's one piece of advice you would give to someone before their first tattoo?
Really, really think about what it means to you. I know it's kind of cliche of, you know, meaning behind tattoos. Some people just say that, oh, it's funny, so I'm going to laugh at it for the rest of my life. I know my humor has changed hell within the past 2 years. I mean, maybe even 2 months ago. So really make it something meaningful to you. Screw whatever anyone else thinks. As long as you can look at that thing and know that it means something to you every single day of your life, then go ahead and get it. Maybe not on your face, but anywhere else, I say go for it.
Awesome, man. That's some killer advice. All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the program again, Bryson. Real quickly, before we go here, do you want to possibly shout out your artist or anyone who might be listening to this interview?
Well, I, of course, would like to shout out Lauren Emery. He is, I probably am a little biased, but he is an amazing artist. If you guys have an opportunity to go check him out on Facebook, it's Lauren, Lorin, Emery. He'll show up right away. He has just amazing, amazing work. And also, I would like to shout out my girlfriend because she's going to be listening. So, Erica, hi, I'm on a podcast. And
I'm giving a big thumbs up right now.
hell yeah. So just thank you for having me on the program, man. Like I said, I feel like this is going to be an awesome thing. And even if it's just, something that a few thousand people would listen to, dude, that's awesome. I mean, you have strangers already approaching you on this. I mean, hell, give it a year. Who knows?
Well, thank you so much, man. Again, thank you for all the support. Thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to be on my program. It really means the world to me. Thank you so much.
Of course, Austin. Thank you.
Hey, thanks again, Bryson. I really didn't want to use that bastard's name on this show, so apologizing for the bleeps, especially how close together they are. Dude's kinda notorious in the area that Bryson and I are from. He's in prison right now for several heinous drug crimes, but even before that, his shop, if you can even really call it that, it was a store that sold sex toys and tobacco accessories, and they had a room in the back where he'd tattoo/pierce, but that was pretty much it. He never personally gave me a tattoo, but he always enjoyed telling me that he could have done mine better and cheaper whenever he saw me just around town. I wish I could say that Bryson's horror story was a rarity, but really it's just a drop in the bucket. Anyway, enough about that. My next guest, Nora, is someone that I've known probably about as long as I've known Bryson. She's awesome. She's a writer, a singer-songwriter. Check this out. Joined today by my guest, Nora.
Hey, what's up?
Howdy. Thank you so much for being on the show, Nora. You're a very talented musician, writer. You're also the first ex-girlfriend on the Ex-Girlfriend Tattoo podcast.
Whoop whoop.
Thanks again. How are you liking the show so far?
I like it. I listen to it on my commute to work. I have like an hour commute both ways, so I'm into it. I usually listen to Sword and Scale, so this is a little less, gruesome.
Sometimes I try. Thank you. All right. So, Nora, how many tattoos do you have right now?
I guess I should say it clearly. I'm not heavily tattooed. I mean, I only have like 20 tattoos, and they're all far away from each other.
I feel it. Would you say that you were raised around the tattoo culture/tattoo industry?
No, my parents, neither of them have any tattoos. Neither of them want to get any tattoos. They actually hate all of mine, but I still get them.
I mean, hey, we're grown-ups. That's the fun part, if there is one. All right, so here, how about you just tell us about your first tattoo?
Okay, so I was 19 years old. I waited a year. My mom was so happy about that. It was from a guy I went to school with. I don't know if this is universal, but in my high school, there were like these groups of boys that had these leather-bound, like nice sketchbooks, and they did graffiti in them because the paper was so thick and the ink wouldn't bleed through them, and they were the Black Book Boys. He was a Black Book boy, and he had been an apprentice for a year, and I was his first client. And I mean, he charged me shop minimum. They were $60. They're 2 times, right below like the dip of the elbow, and they took like 30 minutes maybe. That I was like, oh, tattoos don't hurt. That was my whole first like jive of that. But when I asked him what an appropriate tip was, he was like, I really want brownies. And I was like, oh, okay. And then he was like, and also like, I'm kind of, Arizona tea would be good. And I was like, all right. I get there, I give him 2 teas and a full pan of brownies with like frosting, etc. And he eats half of the pan while he's making the stencil. And this is where I should have known this is all wrong. But I was like, I'm getting my first tattoo. Who cares about hygiene? Anyway, he does my tattoos. And then at the end of it, he's like, like these brownies are so good. You can just give me $20. So I ended up not even paying shop minimum for these tattoos, basically $10 a piece for these tattoos. And in my brain, I was like, I got a good deal. And now somebody who has like not lots of tattoos, but I have bigger work done. I'm like, that was a terrible deal. You should have ran away. Like, why'd you let this person do this to you? But I also later on let him tattoo me out of his house. So, I mean, I wasn't making great choices. I'll be honest here.
I mean, bad decisions lead to the best stories, right? Cheesy as it sounds.
I guess. I later got tattooed by him. There was some kind of falling out between him and like the man that he was apprenticing with, I guess. Anyway, he texted me an address and was like, bring as many people as you can to get tattooed tonight. And I was like, okay. Again, I think I was 19 at this time still. I think it wasn't that long after I'd gotten my first tattoo. And so I showed up at this address and this garage door just pulls up and there are 3 men like set up to tattoo. Me and a friend got tattoos that night. That was the sketchiest one. I got tattooed again by him though, out of his mom's house in her kitchen. And I only did it. He'd gotten a job at a shop in the stockyards of downtown Fort Worth. And it was like a prime location. I got tattooed by him there a couple times. And then he was getting ready to ship out for the Navy. And I missed my last tattoo appointment. I don't remember why, but I missed it. And so he shot me a text, was like, you could come get it at my mom's house. And so he tattooed my arm in his mom's house the day before he shipped out for the Navy. And so that time was less sketchy, but still it was a at-home tattoo.
Those happen. What'd you end up getting on your arm with that last one right before the Navy?
He did all of my Kurt Vonnegut tattoos, and so he did the tombstone that says everything was beautiful and nothing hurt.
Oh my God, I remember you getting that.
My friend sent my mom a picture of me in this lady's kitchen, like getting tattooed, and she called me like 30 times. She was so pissed off, and she's like, "What are you doing right now?" And I'm like, "Nothing." And it was bad.
Oh my God, that's awesome. When you're young.
Young and just ready to do it. The ones I got done with all the dudes in the sketchy garage, I don't regret them, but I didn't take care of them. Like I got white ink tattoos. I got a wrist tattoos in white ink, and then I got my knuckles tattooed in white ink because I wanted knuckle tattoos, but I didn't, want to commit to knuckle tattoos. I should have just committed. I don't know. I was just a heathen. I didn't put sunscreen on them. I didn't do anything to protect them. So now they're just like these blown out. One of them you can't see at all anymore, and one of them is just like a big line that looked like a scar through my finger, and it was one of the most painful tattoos I got. So
finger tattoos hurt.
They hurt.
But with that first tattoo, the first one that you tip at the brownies, what sort of reactions did that get?
Well, I thought they were like a really safe placement at first because I was like, they're not on the hands. I was really worried about work because I still didn't know what I wanted to do and jobs and stuff. But I hid them from my mom for like a week. And then she inevitably saw them. Like I live in Texas and it gets to be like 110 degrees here. And so eventually you take off your clothes, it just happens.
Totally.
And so the first time she saw it, she backhanded me. She was like so pissed off. But she grew to be okay with them. She still doesn't like them because she says that they're meaningless. That she said that nobody should get tattoos from like songs or like stuff like that. And like the 2:45 a.m. is from Elliott Smith's song. So she's like, that's meaningless. But she also doesn't have any tattoos.
How the fuck can you say that 2:45 a.m. by Elliott Smith is meaningless?
There's so much there. I mean,
like I'm pretty sure that's violating the Geneva Convention right there. Like I'm almost certain.
Yeah, somebody needs to report her.
Well, yeah, she would hate this show, so. Would you say that it was mistaken for anything else? Like, just people seeing it like, oh, hey, is that the time you were born?
Right, exactly. I got that a couple times, but to date, probably the most common thing, and it's always men who do it. It's never women. I feel like women don't comment on my tattoos very much, but men do a lot, and I don't know if it's because I'm a woman, but it's always men, and they're like, is that when your children were born? Bold of you to assume, first of all, but no.
Wow. Oh my God. So before your first tattoo, the idea you had of how much it's going to hurt, that type of thing, would you say that actually sitting down in the chair, was it more or less pain than you anticipated originally?
It was less than I anticipated, and I kept that idea for so long. And it wasn't until this year that I actually got a color tattoo. And so everything else I had was line work up until this year. And so when I got my first I got almost my whole outer leg done, my right leg. And that was 8 hours and it was very painful. And so I remember telling my sister yo, tattoos hurt. I found that out finally after 20 tattoos. And she went and got her first tattoo recently. And she tried to tell me that it didn't hurt, but it'll hurt.
19 left, right?
Yeah.
Then it starts hurting. And you kind of mentioned earlier that you really didn't regret any of the tattoos you got, but you regret not taking care of them while they were healing?
Yeah. I mean, I took care. I don't know. It was like the aftercare of I didn't understand a white ink tattoo is like, I mean, skincare in general is important, and I didn't get that as a young person. I didn't understand like the care that a white ink tattoo was going to need if it was going to be in direct sunlight all the time. And so they look stupid, but I'm the only person who really can see it because I know they're there. My wrist tattoo that's in white has held up wonderfully because it wasn't on the top of my hand. And so it looks really nice still.
So earlier on the show, we defined the ex-girlfriend tattoo, for this program as a tattoo that immediately brings up memory of a relationship, friendship, something that didn't work out. Would you say that any of your tattoos count and fall into that category?
Yeah. The Kurt Vonnegut tombstone I got with Everything Was Beautiful and Nothing Hurt. One of my ex-boyfriends paid for that tattoo.
Hell yeah.
And it was like difficult because I wasn't invested in the relationship. And so when he paid for it, I was just kind of like, cool, you paid for my tattoo. But he was more serious about it, and I just wasn't. I was being a hoe. I was doing hoe things, and I just like wasn't interested in dating anybody seriously. And that was probably in like 2013, I think, yeah. And it was like the next year I met my current boyfriend. I've been with him for almost 6 years now. So it's kind of like, I'm just going to be a hoe. And then all of a sudden, I think I'm going to get married. And he refuses to pay for any of my tattoos. He tells me I need to, figure that out myself.
I think we all need a little hoe time, What's one piece of advice you would give for first tattoos?
I guess placement. Like, I wouldn't change the first tattoos I got. I do wish I'd gotten them in a different place, just because they've kind of like hindered where I wanted to put things on my arm before. Because I do have this, which is almost a finished half sleeve now. And they're a part of it that would have been cool to come all the way around, but I would either have to cover one of them or somehow incorporate it into it. I don't know. I think placement, and also like really checking out the artist and making sure that you like them and that they do good shit is probably really important.
Portfolios are important. It's like a business card that says so much more. Real quickly before we go here, thank you so much again for doing the interview. Is there anyone you might want to shout out? Maybe an artist, someone who's listening to the program?
So the girl who does my tattoos now, her name is Taylor Weber, and she's a tattoo artist in Dallas, and her Instagram is Weber.artworks on Instagram. She does really cool art, but also tattoos, and she does like a lot of really cool watercolor tattoos.
Awesome. All right. Well, hey, Nora, thank you again so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
What an awesome story. Thanks, Nora. And thanks again for being the first ex-girlfriend on the Ex-Girlfriend Tattoo Podcast. To clarify, none of my ex-girlfriend tattoos that I've discussed so far on the show are associated with her. I've always loved Kurt Vonnegut tattoos, and then I realized that my right arm is covered in the asterisks he used as assholes in his writings. Kurt Vonnegut's asshole was the original name of this show up until the morning I recorded the first interview. Next, I had the pleasure of doing another fan interview. Here's Jessica.
Hi, guys.
All right. Thank you for being on the show, Jessica. So, real quick, how many tattoos do you have now?
As of now, I have 6.
Nice. There you go. Okay. And about how long have you been getting tattooed for?
Since I was 18, 19 years old. About 10 years.
Okay. Very cool. All right. And then, real quickly, would you say that you were raised around tattoos/tattooing in that tattoo culture?
Yes and no. My dad got his first tattoo when I was in high school, and then my mom got hers about 7 years ago. So throughout my life, people have been getting tattoos.
Okay, very cool. Nice. I mean, did you go to, conventions or shows, anything like that growing up, or not so much?
We started going to conventions a few years back. We went to the Ink and Arms in Wilmington. As of now, well, last time we went, it turned more into a gun show. Hey, we still got some pretty good talent around here.
Nothing wrong with that. No, gun show and a tattoo show. That's a double whammy right there for me.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so your first tattoo, what's the story behind that?
It was supposed to be my zodiac, which is Aries, the ram. I was about 18, 19 years old, and I kept bugging my parents. I'm like, I want to get a tattoo. I want to get a tattoo. Eventually, they finally caved. Given it was late at night, they're like, all right, fine, we'll go with you to go get your tattoo. And we went to this local shop. It was called tattoo. And if you're familiar with the Jacksonville, North Carolina area, it's near Cherry Point Base. So I've heard bits and pieces about the place. So we get there and, there's a bunch of artists, some clients outside smoking, talking shit. And I get talking to one of the artists. He's like, if you want to get a tattoo, make sure you get writing that will not shrink over time or look faded. Because he had one like right here on his collarbone. He's like, I should have gone, and it was an old tattoo. So we got to talk about what I want with my design. He's like, you know what? Since my appointment is late, I'll go ahead and take you. I'm like, sweet. So we get inside and we get just past the door where, it's from the lobby to the tattoo area, and his appointment shows up. And he's like, he's my appointment. I have to take him. I'm like, it's okay. I understand. You got your clientele. So he's like, well, I'll pass you off to one of the other guys. Unknown to me, the guy that I was joking with in the front lobby was going to be my tattoo artist. And I'm like, okay, it's fine. I told him what I want. I want my Zodiac the Ram. It went good. It did hurt. All tattoos hurt. Don't let anybody lie to you. Unless you use numbing cream. It's what I wanted, but it's not the design I wanted. And given I was 18, 19 years old, first tattoo ever. And I always tell people, go to a reliable shop, check their books. If they have Facebook or any social media, double check that. Because I got screwed over. He used thick lines for the outline, and there's barely any shading. And it just looks straight up horrible.
Oh, man. Okay, yeah, no, I was going to say, that's first tattoos. There's always a fun story there about something or another,
Yeah, and the real funny part is, that establishment is still there, but it's under new management, and it's a whole new crew. This was about 10, 11 years ago. New management that's now called the Old Salt. And I've seen their work now, and I'm impressed. But I probably would not go back to any.
No, it kind of has that connotation. I totally understand that.
Yeah.
So, okay. So right after you got that first tattoo right there on your wrist, how are people reacting to that?
Some people are pretty cool with it. Even when you're in high school, someone gets a tattoo, they're like, oh, that's so cool. Did it hurt? Can I touch it? I'm like, no, you can't touch it. Yes, it did hurt. Given people have picked on me throughout the years about it, they're like, what exactly is it? I'm like, it's supposed to be my Zodiac, the Ram, Aries. My grandmothers, they hate tattoos. One of my grandmothers even threatened to take a bristle brush to it.
Ooh, that'll remove it, all right.
Yeah, well, she's old school Italian Catholic, and she does not like tattoos. She still loves it. Funny thing is, my second tattoo was a scripture on my rib, so it wasn't bad. So far, I've had positive comments about it, and people are like, what exactly is it? I'm like, it's supposed to be my Zodiac, but since it's so thick line and not very much detail, everyone's like, oh, I thought it was asparagus. I'm like, really, dude?
Okay, I was about to actually ask in there, does it get mistaken for anything else?
It does. I've had asparagus. I've had quite a few things. I'm like, no, it's my Zodiac.
All right, I feel it. Kind of a little Rorschach action there, Overall, would you say that you regret that first tattoo or not?
It's 50-50. I don't regret getting tattooed at an early age. I just wish I did my homework. Told the guy I was talking to first, be like, no, you get done with him, I want you, and not be traded off somebody else. So that's my only regret is I should have stuck with the guy that I got, or the guy I was talking to at the shop. That's my only regret.
Okay, so would you say that that's probably the biggest lesson you've learned since that first tattoo?
Yes, I always tell people, whether it's your first tattoo or your 100, double check the shop, double check the portfolios, clearly talk about what you want in your tattoo. Design, the concept, colors. You don't tell them one little detail, there goes the tattoo. In my opinion.
I think communication is key. No, you can never have too much of that. I hear you. Okay, and then you were talking about how really any tattoo is going to be uncomfortable. It's going to hurt no matter how tough you are or whatever people say. Mm-hmm. So before you went in for your first tattoo, and then after it was done, do you think that the actual pain you experienced there in the chair was it what you thought it was going to be? Was it better, worse?
It was better than what I thought was, because it's kind of, whenever they do the shading part, it feels like they're just dragging the needle, and then that's usually what gets me. Because if they do like a solid detail line, it's fine. I barely feel it. Especially if you've been sitting in the chair for 2+ hours, like I was with my back tattoo. But other than that, it's actually not as bad as people think it is.
All right. I do have to give you props because, yeah, your first tattoo right there on the inside of your wrist, that's pretty metal. Filling the inside of both my wrists sucked and I hated it. So, I mean, for the first time, yeah, kudos to you.
It's funny because the guy that tattooed my rib, he's like, are you sure you want your ribs tattooed as your second tattoo? Because I showed him one on my wrist and he's like, are you sure this is what you want, where you want? I'm like, yeah. Given I did flinch, but thankfully the guy was able to move the needle in time, so it wasn't a bad experience. I don't think about when I get tattooed. I think I either play on my phone or I just talk to the artist. the pain goes away sometimes.
Hey, there you go. Okay, and then so earlier on the show we did define the ex-girlfriend tattoo as just something that's a reminder of a relationship that didn't work out, whether it be a name, a symbol, a date, a matching, etc., etc. So would you say that any of your tattoos are ex-girlfriend tattoos?
No, I'm one of those. I refuse to have a name tattooed on me unless it is my child. If I were to have a kid, my boyfriend and I, Tony, we've been talking. If wedding rings are too expensive, we'll just get like a matching tattoo on our ring finger.
Yeah.
And then we're like, but we've been going back and forth with it. So I will say this: if you're dead serious about this person, make it something that's between you two, but also that's a little comical, if that makes any sense. Like,
okay, something you can get a laugh at.
Yeah, like with Tony and I, we met in the fishing aisle at Walmart. So we always thought if we were to get matching tattoos as our wedding bands, we get a fishing pole, because that's how we met. And everyone's always asked us, they're like, how did you two meet? Because we're from opposite sides of town. It's always fun to tell that story.
Nice. All right, and then real quickly, so how long did it take you to get used to seeing that first tattoo?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say, given it, like I said, it's been 10 years, so I don't really remember. I just remember it itched like crazy. But other than that, it took me a few weeks.
You've given lots of good advice for people just sitting down for their first tattoo. Just once again, just kind of reiterating, what's the one piece of advice you would give to someone who's about to sit down for their first tattoo?
Double check the shop and check their portfolios. Communicate.
Awesome. All right. Well, Jessica, hey, thank you once again so much for your time. Real quickly here, do you want to shout out anyone, shout out an artist, anyone who might be here in the program?
I was to say, if you're in the Jacksonville, North Carolina area, the shops I trust are Gypsy Rose, Honor and Glory, and Forbidden Tattoo. They're the three shops I trust. And artist-wise, I would say David and Jamie Melvin. They're a married couple from Emerald Isle. They tattoo and own the Gypsy Rose. There's another artist. All the guys at Honor and Glory, they freehand a lot of their stuff. And it is amazing. I can't think of any other artists off the top of my head, but those three shops that I mentioned, check them out.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks again, Jessica. It was great talking to you.
Thanks again, Austin.
Jessica, that was awesome. Thanks again so much for sharing. I'm also no stranger to having a tattoo mistaken for something else. I was meaning to record a monologue about my first tattoo for this episode, but I was in a little bit of a time crunch. It really didn't mesh all that well with all the other interviews, and, well, frankly, my inner monologue sounds like a healthy mix of Ice-T and Mark Hamill, so even just writing the thing out, it just sounded weird. I was 18, it was a meaningful quote-unquote tattoo, and it's covered up now. I talk about it a little bit later on in the show, but that's a little bit of background for now. This next guest, I didn't even realize he had tattoos until he submitted for this episode. Here's my good friend, Tyler.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being on the show. Yeah, and you've been a listener. How are you liking the show so far?
I'm actually really enjoying it, being able to listen in on artists, what the job is like from their point of view. I mean, I've with me only been in for one tattoo. It's really good to get that perspective. The last lady that you had the interview with, being able to hear from her, and it gave a really unique and fun perspective. I really enjoyed it a lot.
Well, thank you, man. Glad you're enjoying the show. You have just the one tattoo right now, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. All right. Mm-hmm. Would you say that you were raised around the tattoo industry / tattoo culture?
I wouldn't say no. I of course I have a lot of friends that have tattoos. I have a couple. I know a couple acquaintances that are tattoo artists. But being raised in it, no. I remember my first exposure. I remember my mom got a butterfly tattoo on her right shoulder. Some moth. I can't remember exactly what it was for, but from there I was like, oh wow, people actually have art on their skin. That's so weird. As time went on, I never thought I would need to get a tattoo. It just wasn't like, I don't know, it was out of this mindset of like, well, what do I want on my body for the rest of my life? Like it was this giant commitment you had to make. And yeah, here I am now. I just got my first tattoo just this year, and now I got that itch. Got a bunch of pieces planned out. I'm really excited for it.
Oh hell yeah, man! That first one's always the hardest, you know.
I remember that the initial feel of like I was gonna be stabbed a bunch of times, and it's like no, it was like having like an eraser being ran across your skin a little bit. I don't know how to explain it.
No, I've never heard that one before, but yeah, that's accurate. Like if you've had a really bad eraser burn, if you went to an American middle school, I'm sure you've had at least one eraser burn.
Mm-hmm.
And you said that that first tattoo was this year. Let's see, and you said it was what, summertime-ish?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, awesome. All right. Yeah. Well, here, how about you go ahead and just tell us about your first And only so far, but yeah, your first tattoo.
Let's start with the what. I got a tattoo of a character from a show. It is a silhouette of the Monarch from the show called The Venture Brothers. It's a show I absolutely love, and it actually wasn't my idea to get that tattoo. I ended up getting it on my right shoulder. Funny enough, same spot where my mom got her tattoo. I never even made that connection until just this moment.
Oh man.
Oh man. But yeah, I got that tattoo. Why I got it? This is actually my wife's idea. I guess we could call this an ex-girlfriend tattut because
Hopefully
technically
not.
she is my ex-girlfriend. She was my girlfriend. Now she's my wife.
Ooh,
So
okay.
I put that together. But yeah, this is actually her idea. The reason why we end up getting tattoos is that one is something that we can kind of like have together, something we could like bond over. And this show was one of the things that we started to bond over. Though my wife and I, we've been together for 10 years this year now. There are a lot of things that, even though we got along, there are a lot of things we didn't have in common. Whether, I like rock music, she likes pop, and like really older classic rock. I like football, she likes baseball. You just didn't have a lot of things in common. So when it comes to taste in shows, very much the same. One day I was sitting down and watching reruns of this show called The Venture Brothers, and she walks in, she's like, "What the hell is this?" And she sees these two kids dressed like the Hardy Brothers fighting this dude in this makeshift butterfly costume. Like, what the hell is going on? So I told her what the show was. She sat down and watched it together. So yeah, they play on the tropes of the hero and villain genre, whether it's everything from the young boy adventurers to the costume superheroes to the absolute absurdity of themed costume villainy. The main two villains, we have the Monarch, which is this grown-up man-child trust fund baby who has this weird obsession with monarch butterflies. Frankly, he's one of the funniest characters I have ever seen on a show. He is so well written, very witty. The humor is razor sharp. And this guy, he has his sidekick, or it's his number two wife. Her name is Dr. Girlfriend. I could talk. That's not why we're on the podcast.
Hey, all good, man.
Emma, my wife, absolutely loved her character. Again, just being a strong, independent woman, but just with these two, their relationship, they're both costume villains. One day she says, "Hey, Tyler, we're going on a date." Awesome, cool. Let's get a babysitter. Oh, I already got the babysitter taken care of. Oh, okay. I say back. I talked to her about, "Hey, what's going on? What are we doing?" I said, "Oh, we're going to Walla Walla, going to lunch, then we're going to one other place." Okay, let's go to lunch. So we go out to eat. It was this little almost like a little dive in Walla Walla. I want to say Iceberg or ice. I think it's Iceberg is what it's called. A great place. And then we go stop in to this place by a Baskin Robbins. This is a little tattoo shop. Immortal Ink is the name of it.
Okay.
And I said, "Okay, so you're getting a tattoo? That's great. This isn't her first tattoo." She says, "No, we're getting tattoos." As we're walking in the door, I'm like, "Oh, what?" Okay, yeah, let's do this. So as she walks in, I walk in and I meet the artist. Really nice lady. Really nice. She says, "Hey, great. So we're here for our appointment. Let's start." And my wife says, "Here you go. Have a seat." Wait, I'm first? Well, this whole operation was your idea. Why am I going? And she brings up the prints, and this is the first time I've seen these of the Monarch. And then it was Dr. Mrs. the Monarch in her. She has like this gold crown now instead of the little white hat, a little gold necklace on it too. And I see the one with the Monarch, and I'm like, this is awesome. Why didn't we have this idea sooner? Let's go for it. First, I was a bit nervous at first, where I was thinking like, oh, where are we going to put this tattoo? Am I going to want to hide it? Is something I'm going to want to show people? Is this a conversation I want to have with every single person who asks about it and have to go on this really long explanation about why it's there and what it is? So ultimately, I said, "Okay, great, let's do this." Slapped it on my back, and I asked about the process. I was, again, obviously nervous at first time I've ever done something like this. And I sit down in the chair, and we go to work. I'm like, oh, it's just like this. There's no like prep, no like additional questions, whatever it was. And then from the end, it took maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes to get this piece of the Monarch on my skin. And honestly, I like it a lot. I think it's really cool that my wife and I share. Part of me kind of feels like I've been branded, but honestly, if she wasn't going to do it, I probably would have done the same thing in the future.
Oh, hell yeah, man. I really love that story because your first tattoo, it's something, not necessarily reckless, but definitely somewhat impulsive that you weren't prepared for. But on the same hand, it was your wife's idea. So the surprise is on your end only. So that's awesome.
It was, yeah, it was definitely wasn't something I was planning for, but now it's something that I am planning for now. I've already got appointments put out and everything now for all my next lines of tattoos, like actually getting one here in a few days.
Oh, hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, very excited for that. But yeah, with it being my wife's idea, she had not gotten a tattoo until just again a few months prior to that. She went on this impromptu trip with her mother, and she came back. Hey, I got this, and she showed me her wrist, and she got this really beautiful piece of art that she drew up and copied right onto her skin. Like that was incredible. I would have never expected her to do it. So for this to be a surprise really shouldn't be a surprise. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking too much on it now.
Oh, hey, all good, man. Okay, but you kind of mentioned earlier that there were some conversations you weren't wanting to have. So what sort of reactions did that tattoo get at first? Friends, family?
I remember the first person I showed the tattoo to was my uncle, and the reason why I showed my uncle first, he was a guy who was he was really big, really important in my life. Raised me. He's the guy who taught me how to fish, taught me how to camp, all that stuff. He also first introduced me to the Venture Brothers. Where it was the first couple of seasons where it was just the boy adventurers and their bodyguard Brock Sampson, and this is how much he liked the show. He named his dog Samson and his son Brock off of one of the characters of the show. So he named his son, his offspring, the heir to the throne, named him after one of the characters on this show. So if anybody would have been excited for this, it would have been him. When I talked to him about it, I didn't get the reaction I was looking for. He was actually kind of disappointed, like, what? Really? Oh, okay. The comment that he made was about tattoos being on people that weren't like in the service or weren't in the military. Again, this is a guy who never served, but he made a comment about, I don't know about tattoos being on people who didn't, it wasn't like a code or like a brothers in arms. I think that was the quote, like brothers in arms is the phrase he used. And I seemed like, oh, wow, that's a very strange thing to gatekeep. Speaking that, one, you don't have a tattoo, you didn't serve in the military. It seems like a really like strange, like high horse to be on. He thought, hey, cool, Venture Brothers, that's great. But he just didn't I don't know, he kind of looked down on it, and I wasn't prepared for that. But besides that, any of the people I've showed the tattoo, whoever I've showed it off to, they've been really positive of it. They're people who knew about the Venture Brothers, people who are in a tattoo culture, friends that have just gotten just random things tattooed on their body. They saw that and they're like, that is so sick. I really like the support from that, and my wife and I comment on each other all the time, seeing it like, oh hey, I see you got yours, and when she has it tattooed just below her left arm, whenever she wears like a short sleeve shirt or a tank top, it's something that she can show off, be able to see. Which I thought it's always nice to see that.
Oh, definitely. They are pretty well known and everything, the two characters, but would you say that people that, I guess, since it isn't readily visible, but when you showed it to people, did a lot of people, oh, nice, and have no idea what the hell it is?
It's a very simple piece, with it being it's a silhouette of a bust, right? It doesn't have their face, but it has features where it has his goatee and his signature. Wow, saying this out loud sounds so nutty now, but like he has these signature eyebrows that like stick off the side of his face. People say like, well, what is that? Is it a smudge? Like what is that exactly? But people who know it, they know it. But people who don't see it, they say, oh hey, he's got a tattoo. It's not anything that's really solicited any sort of like extravagant response. I think it may happen in the future with some of these other tattoos I plan on getting, but with this one, it's well hidden enough. It hasn't come up enough in conversation.
Cool. And then you've already said that you're in love with that tattoo. You love it. So no regrets there, right?
No regrets at all. I honestly, I think I would have regretted it if I would have bitched out in that moment. I'm like, I don't know. We haven't talked about this. Like, if I tried to rationalize it, I would have regretted it. I really would have. It's I'm sure there's a quote in there. Say, "No one, you'll always regret what you didn't do, not what you did do." You know what I mean?
Totally.
Like if you would have sat and thought about, oh, maybe I don't want this, or I want something else, or I want to put it somewhere else on my body. If I have any sort of like regret about it, I probably would have put it someplace differently, someplace I could show it off more, but still easily conceal it, where like I'm not gonna have to explain it every time to somebody. Say, maybe on my chest, or I don't know where else.
Oh, hey, no, I feel that. Okay, and then you kind of talked about a little bit how it felt like an eraser burn, which I've never heard that before, but I really love it. So would you say that the actual pain you experienced, comparative to what you were anticipating in those moments before the tattoo, did it hurt more or less?
It hurt less. I remember she was talking about the needles and which one she used, and the ones line, it was very small, like it was like 2 or 4 needles that she used. And then when it came to filling in some of the larger areas, she had like an 8 or a bit that had 8 or 10 needles on it. And when she used that one, I could feel that. That was like, I was like, ooh, I'm just gonna just close my eyes and not think about it to really fill in some of those areas. And where it was, I don't think it was so much that it hurt on the skin as that I could feel it going into my shoulder blade. Like I not the needles going through, but just that that constant pressure on my shoulder blade, but it definitely did hurt less. I had that image thought in my head of like, oh, if being stabbed 1,000 times felt like getting a normal shot, just constant.
Oh, definitely. Okay, and then real quick here, what's one piece of advice you would give for someone sitting down for their first tattoo?
First piece of advice. That's a really good question.
Thank you.
Advice that I would give to someone going in for their first tattoo, that one, it really doesn't hurt as much as you think it will. Unless, of course, you're going to get someplace really sensitive. You're going to get, inside of your arm or on your rib cage. You're going to feel those ones, I'm sure. Don't try and rationalize it. If you try and think about a piece of art that's going to be, it's going to be on you for the rest of your life, it's a commitment. No, it's not. It's not like you're signing your death warrant and every job prospect is out the window now. No, it's a piece of art, something that means something to you, and it's going to mean something to you. If it's something silly, for instance, you get a meme on your body, like of just as silly as that sounds, it's going to be a story that you can tell in the future. Even if it's something absolutely crazy and you regret it, you can say, yep, I got this when I was young and dumb. Like, this is something I think you could, when you do it, you're going to like it, but even in the future, it's going to be a story to tell it. You're a tapestry,
Definitely. I've seen enough Minion tattoos that Steve Carell can never retire.
Oh no, Minion tattoos.
Yeah, oh man, it's it's a very definite period of time,
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
And before we go, really can't thank you enough for being on the show. Thank you so much for listening. Thanks for the support. Glad I was able to have you as a guest. Is there anyone you'd like to shout out real quick? Maybe an artist, anyone who might be listening to the show?
I'm going to give a shout out to my the artist that actually gave me this tattoo and the one that I'm going back to for my future tattoos. You can follow her on Instagram at Turner Tats, Tatz. At the end of that, she's based out of Walla Walla at Immortal Ink. I really love her artwork, whether it's been some of the cartoony things or some of the more hyper realistic. The work that she does with it makes it look like it's watercolors. Absolutely phenomenal art. I'm going back to her because I want to support her and want to thank her for her hard work and her trade. I appreciate her a lot.
Awesome. Well, hey, Tyler, thank you again so much.
Awesome. Thank you very much for having me.
That was wonderful. Tyler, thank you so much for sharing. After we recorded this interview, Tyler went out and got his second tattoo, so congrats on that, Tyler. I really don't want to say too awful much beforehand, but you'll be hearing again from Tyler down the road when we do our band tattoos episode. I'm not super duper familiar with the Venture Brothers, so when I was editing this interview, I tried to keep the details on the show straight, but I apologize in advance if anything got away from me. The final Skype interview for this episode was with Tiffany, and she was kind enough to share her experiences with us. Here she is. Tiffany, thanks so much for being on the show. How many tattoos do you have right now?
I would say I think I have 10 or 11. I'm pretty heavily covered.
Okay, awesome. Would you say that you were raised around the tattoo culture / tattoo industry?
Yeah, my uncle was a tattoo artist when I was growing up, so tattoos were always something that, it was something I always knew I was going to do was get tattoos, and I didn't expect for it to be a large part of my end of my teens, early 20s, but yeah, tattoos were always a big, big part of my family.
Very cool. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so yeah, you hung out in shops, that type of thing growing up?
Yeah, a lot of tattoos in the house and stuff like that for like family,
So just, real quick, tell us the story of your first tattoo.
Well, my first tattoo I got when I was 18 years old here in Iowa, in Des Moines, Iowa, at Ink Addiction at the time. It was by Ben Madrid. He still tattoos here in Des Moines. He did a tattoo on my left ankle. It's Carole King verse, actually, with musical notes and music that goes up and around my ankle. It's Love Makes the World Go Round. I had came in and just didn't really know who to get tattooed by. I looked through the portfolios and everything, and I chose Ben, and we did this tattoo on my ankle, and everything was really well. I didn't think about it when I went in. I forgot to shave my legs, so he had to shave my leg, and everything went good. It was a great time at the tattoo shop. One of my really good friends worked at the front desk, was a tattoo shop girl, kind of how we put it. So I had came back in a few weeks later to get some tattoos down on my pelvis, a couple stars with a rainbow inside of them. And I didn't do both of them at once. I did one and then came back a couple of days later. The first one he asked me later after the tattoo if I wanted to go eat. And I don't know if I was just so nervous or what, but I told him I didn't eat food. So I left and was like, what in the hell did I just say? It was I just couldn't believe it. I guess 18 years old, I was in shock that, tattoo guy was interested in me. So I came back 2 days later to get the other tattoo, and we ended up going out and having a date next door at the bar. And another tattoo artist that worked with him, Mark Pobance, he passed away a few years ago. He was one of my very, very best friends. He came over and he was very loud and vulgar. He came up to the table and was saying some really crazy things about nuns and having sex. And I was just like, what in the hell is going on here? And we had a great time. We ended up dating after that for a few months, me and Ben, and we had a good time. I spent every day in that shop for 10 hours at least. And then we ended up splitting up, and Ben Madrid and Mark Pobance, who's chubby, and Ricky Hathaway, who also tattoos here in Des Moines still, at Lucky Gal, they all had moved in together, and I started seeing Ricky not long after that. And they were all living together as roommates, and we kind of had to keep that under wraps for a while until Ben found out. He left me for a different girl who's now his wife, actually. Well, good for them. I'm happy for him. And I've actually been into his tattoo shop still to get tattooed. I went in there a few years ago, and Mikey Getz tattooed me at All Day Tattoo here in Des Moines, where they all both work together, him and Ben. And it's a big old Bride of Frankenstein piece on my leg. It was beautiful. Did it all in one shot in 6 hours. We just all lived in that tattoo shop, and it was a frat house. It was a wild time. We'd get off work and go home and play Guitar Hero and drink and cook and be rowdy, crazy people. It was a good time. I was only 18 and started hanging out at the tattoo shop all the time and going to the bar next door, and they thought I was over 21, so I was always there drinking. And it closed down, so it's not there anymore, but they moved Ink Addiction, and Ben started his own tattoo shop not long after me and Ricky split up, started dating Chubby for a little while. It was kind of a crazy situation. I had a really big thing for tattoo artists for a minute there. So I'm well known here in town, I guess.
That was three in a row. I'm sorry, that was 3 in a row?
Three.
Or?
Yeah.
No judgment.
Three. I dated a few other tattoo artists, around here that tattoo in different places now, like Josh Hendrickson. He tattoos in Las Vegas. He's an amazing tattoo artist, and it was a learning experience in my life. I still spend time at tattoo shops. It's just who I am, and I'd always be a part of me. Yeah, they were the first people that tattooed me and opened me up to that. I have a huge chest tattoo by Mark that took probably about 13 hours. It was a wild couple years, to tell you the truth.
Kind of backtracking here. So that first tattoo on your ankle, what sort of reactions did you get from that?
Not really much at all. I mean, it was just a short, sweet, simple little girly tattoo. It was not until I think my fourth tattoo I got a lot of reactions out of, which was my chest piece. I went from having just a couple small tattoos to a really large tattoo with a skull and crossbones. It says, going out with guns blazing. It's got some treasure chest and guns. And I came home and showed my grandma, and she cried. She said I look like a biker. Man. And she said she was never going to get over that. So it's been, I think, 11 years now I've had that tattoo. And it's how everybody knows me. They all recognize me by the tattoo. So it is who I am mostly. It took a while. I just went from a couple little tattoos to really big works of art. Yeah, my bigger tattoos are my best ones. They're kind of the way I put it.
That first tattoo, the pain that you imagined before you got it, and I mean, especially growing up around tattoos, would you say that it hurt more or less than you originally anticipated?
It hurt a little more. It was so there's about 5 straight lines that go all the way around my ankle, and straight lines they're painful. Definitely right on that bone on my leg. It was tough, but it went by pretty quick. After the first 15 minutes, it kind of numbs up. Everything does, and you're kind of good to go at that point.
That's good. Yeah, the first 15 minutes can usually be pretty intense, but then once you got it figured out, yeah. Would you say that you regret that or not so much?
No, I've never regretted any of my tattoos at all. They're all part of my life. There was something there. I got them for some reason, and I will always remember when I got them done and what was going on in my life. So, no, I have not ever regretted it.
Especially with the history you kind of gave us there for a sec. On the first episode of the program, we kind of defined the ex-girlfriend tattoo as a tattoo that it might be a name, an image, a date, just something that immediately conjures up a memory of a relationship, friendship, whatever it may be that didn't quite work out. Would you say that any of your tattoos fall under that category?
Kind of, I guess. I mean, I ended up dating the man that tattooed me, dating more than one man that tattooed me. So, I mean, maybe in a little bit of a way, but in the end, I appreciated, there was an experience there, and they're all great tattoos that they did. So I would never say I regret any of them. I mean, I maybe regret dating the person that tattooed me. I wouldn't, that's for sure. It was all part of my life, and it'll always be a part of me. So tattoos have always been a big part of my life, and I'll never regret those.
What would you say one piece of advice for someone sitting down for their first tattoo? What's some advice you'd have for them?
Just to make sure that it's something you really want, just to be sure about that, and don't get starstruck by your artist at all. Try not to. It's tough, but artists are easy ones to fall for sure.
That's great advice right there. I know, especially right when you're 18, if it's your first time in a real shop, just, oh my God, that's a real thing. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, real quickly before we go here, do you want to shout out any artists you admire, enjoy, or maybe anyone who's listening to the program?
There's one artist I really, really love here in Des Moines. That's Aaron Duncan at Apollo Tattoo Studios. He's amazing. He did my tattoo of my daughter's name, and he's a very great tattoo artist. If you're in the Des Moines area or in Iowa looking for a tattoo artist, Aaron Duncan's definitely someone to hit up for sure.
Awesome. All right, Tiffany. Really can't thank you enough. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. You guys have a great rest of your day. Appreciate it.
Hey, you too. Tiffany, those were some awesome stories. Thanks again so much for sharing those. I always find it very interesting to get the perspectives of people who got to grow up around the industry and culture, but more so especially when they grew up around it and it continues to be part of their lives as adults. Local artist Cam West was my very first guest on the program, and we were fortunate enough to get him back in the studio to discuss some of his experiences on the other side of the needle. All right, I am Austin Larson. This is the Ex-Girlfriend Tattoo Podcast. I'm joined by my guest today, or returning guest, I should say, Cam West.
Hello.
Thanks for being on the show again, Cam. Thanks for being part of my little learning experience in that first episode.
Yeah, that was cool.
Awesome, all right. And how are you liking the show so far?
I like it a lot. It's fun to listen to. I usually listen to it on the way home from the shop. It's nice. It's fun.
Awesome. Well, thanks, man. Really appreciate that. Since you were on the show last, have you got any new tattoos?
No, I don't think so.
Hey, it happens, man. I feel you kind of lose track sometimes.
Yeah. The last one I got was my throat.
Oh, that's right.
2 months ago. I think I did your show after that.
Yeah, it's but the throat, I mean, that's pretty intense. I'd probably take a break after that.
Yeah.
Do you know how many tattoos you have? Just ballpark? I mean, you're pretty heavily tattooed. So.
Yeah. Oh, man. I actually have no idea. I know I only have very few spaces left. Like, I got my stomach, which I'm kind of saving for a while, and then just a very few spaces on my legs. I don't know. They kind of are all like touching each other now. So it's kind of just one big tattoo.
You're that guy now. It's, I only have one tattoo, but it's all over.
Right. Yeah.
Hey, okay. I feel it. How about your first tattoo? Just tell us that story.
My first tattoo.
I guess the first one you received, I should clarify.
Okay. Yeah. I guess the first one I got in a shop was the day after my 18th birthday. And it was here in Spokane at Tiger Tattoo. The broiest tattoo ever. It's my last name in Old English going down the back of my arm. I was going to go on my 18th birthday. They were booked. And I had a family member that went to Tiger Tattoo. And so I was like dead set on going there. And yeah, when the next day, it was awesome.
Oh, hell yeah. So
the conversations they were having and just the attitudes there and everything was super, super cool. Then I got my second and third tattoo like a week later.
For that first one, were you just walk in the day after, or did you have to make an appointment?
I called. I didn't put a deposit down or anything like that, but kind of just set a time.
Oh, hell yeah. Did you go with a group of friends, just by yourself? Or?
No, my cousin came with me because he was turning 18 like a week or 2 weeks after I did. And he wanted a tattoo. So he wanted to see what it's all about. We left and, I was laying there on my stomach, getting the back of my arm tattooed and can't talk. I'm shy to begin with. So being around in a room full of tattooers, just sitting there, we leave and my cousin's like, that's boring as fuck. I was like, yeah, I probably won't go with you when you get yours. He's like, I understand.
It does get pretty boring,
right?
I understand people bring in, the crew with them for the first one because you're nervous or whatever. But after that, it's kind of like, oh man, that's kind of. With that first tattoo, what sort of reactions did you get? Friends, family? Because you really weren't raised around the culture of the industry, right?
Absolutely not. No. My family was Mormon. So my birthday was in April. So I got it, and I can't remember. We had a family event, something went to my grandparents' house, and I was really nervous to show or to have my grandpa see it. He was a military man, and pretty, don't fuck with your body. And so it was like, I think it was May or June by that time, and hot as hell. It was so hot. And I was wearing what's it called? Like a long john kind of undershirt, like a long sleeve undershirt.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And then a t-shirt over that. Because I didn't want my tattoo.
Very early 2000s.
Right. And I'm like sitting there, barbecue, just sweating, sitting at the table because I don't want my grandparents to see. And then my dad's like, fuck it, just take that shirt off. And I did. I went to the bathroom, took that shirt off, and I was like, I showed everybody. Just so like it wasn't like a secret, They were like, oh, that's cool, but that was it.
At least he got that.
But it was pretty fake.
It was cool, great.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, at least you were able to show it off. My grandparents, while they were alive, they never saw any of my tattoos. As far as they know, nope, nothing. My mom's parents, or my mom's mom, she knows about, I think, most of them. Mm-hmm. Probably not my ass or anything. But she's seen my arms and everything. She's cool with it. But my dad's parents, not so much. They passed without ever knowing that I had any. So
what's really funny is my grandma on my mom's side, she's awesome. She's like 90. She just turned 91. And she is Mormon also. She always made these like family photo albums of all our families. And when I first started getting tattooed, she would take a picture of all the tattoos I would get. And so there's like photo albums of my family from like 2006. And it's like my first tattoo, and then my second and third tattoo are in there. And then I got sleeves and chest, all pretty much covered. And then also I got spots tattooed where she can't take a picture of.
Yeah. That first tattoo, the surname in the Old English font, would you say overall, do you regret it or not so much?
I don't regret it. I wish I would have got something different now. I still have it. I can cover it up easily, but I still have it. I chose not to cover it up just because it was my very first tattoo in the shop. That's one thing, like one stepping stone for me was just being in the shop. Their attitudes and, they were cool.
Did you kind of see the future when you were in that shop the first time?
Kinda, yeah. Felt good being in there. Nervous, first time was nervous. I don't know. Yeah, I knew I wanted to be around those kind of people.
And then you said first shop tattoo. Did you have like stick and pokes before, that type of thing?
I did a little tattoo on my finger. I was young.
Hey,
yeah.
I feel okay. So you kind of already had an idea what things were about, but when you were just laying down for that first actual shop tattoo, would you say it hurt more or less than you anticipated?
It felt like how I thought it was going to feel. It wasn't bad. Back of the arm is pretty easy. And it was quick. Yeah, it's one of those things, you don't know what it's going to feel like until you get it. But yeah, it wasn't bad.
And then, during the first interview, I did ask this, but just for some of the listeners who might not have listened to that one, do you have any ex-girlfriend tattoos?
Yeah, I got a couple tattoos that I got after. So I don't have any names or dates or anything like that, but I have tattoos I got after a relationship ended. They're small little things, and I got them not for the girl, but I got them for like me. Like I think I said this on the first interview. Like I got a sucker tattooed on my leg where I was dating this chick and I paid for everything. She would be like, hey, let's go to Silverwood, the theme park. And it's like $50 to get in.
Oh shit,
a person, and I'd pay for all the food and all that shit. And
expensive fucking day.
Yeah, and she'd be like, hey, let's go to the grocery store. I need some groceries. And so I buy her groceries. But I was like head over heels for this girl. So yeah, then afterwards I was like, oh, I was a fucking sucker, man.
I think we've all been there before. It happens.
Yeah.
In your experiences as an artist, which area of the body would you say is the most difficult to tattoo?
To tattoo? Like kind of where the hip bone and the ribs, like right in between that area, kind of like love handle area. Okay. That's difficult. The ribs are pretty difficult. The butt is difficult to tattoo.
That's kind of what inspired that question. I was talking with a coworker the other day, and I was talking about how, like, my butt tattoo, you'd think that the butt's not a very sensitive area, but I guess just because, well, on me, there's really not much there to work with. There's not much muscle or anything to support it. So I felt the needle sinking right into my ass. Right. It wasn't like a bicep tattoo where, you can just kind of sit there and rock with it.
Yeah. When I got my bodysuit and doing the butt, I was thinking when I was getting mine done, I was like, butt's going to be a fucking walk in the park. No problem. Mm-hmm. And then we started, and I was like, this is just fucking terrible. Christian Lies did it. I was not a fan of him when he was doing that.
Oh, come on, bro. You're really just digging out my ass there. It's
right.
I mean, my the little one I had, the Milo on my ass, it's so small that it really didn't take that long. But oh my God, yeah, I felt it going in there.
Yeah, it's funny. A couple girls come in. They wanted to get a little flower and then each other's initials coming off like the stem on their butt.
Hot.
Right, yeah. And they were just talking like, oh, no problem. It's going to be easy. I was like, yeah, and it was quick. Everything was like an inch. And the first girl I did like, literally the first line, and she like stands up. She's like, nope, I can't do it. And I was like, no, you got to do it now. You just have a little line on you. And she's like, no, I can't. And I was like, please lay down. You can do this. Just breathe. It's going to take 2 minutes. It's going to go so quick. And she was like screaming like she was giving birth.
Oh my God.
And her friend was like, I don't know if I want to do this. And I was like, well, we haven't started yours yet. So, I mean,
don't bitch out.
Yeah, she did it. She sat like a fucking champ for that, but compared to her friend.
Butts and fingers, those ones people don't think will hurt, but no, they do.
Yeah, fingers don't feel good either.
I remember especially, right over the joint. That's...
Yeah.
Overall, how important would you say aftercare is for a fresh tattoo?
Oh, I think it's extremely important. I mean, yeah, it's an open wound. Keeping it clean is the most important thing. At least washing it, 3 or 4 times a day. Yeah, a lot of people will fucking just lather on Aquaphor or something like that. It's like, no, you don't smother it with that shit. But now we got the second skin or the Tegaderm stuff. Leave on for about 3 days. Everyone at the shop uses that, and it's really, really nice.
Nice.
Come back, the tattoos are healed within like a week, and they're bright as hell. And
ooh. It's
just a fucking pain in the ass to put on.
Yeah, and then with that one, do you wash the dressing itself? Or?
No, it's like waterproof, so you take a shower and stuff. I mean, don't go jump in a lake or
like sauna or anything, right?
Right. But yeah. Once you take it off and wash it like normal, a couple 3 or 4 times a day, and throw some lotion on there, and heals up pretty nice.
What are your aftercare preferences?
Just like washing it, antibacterial soap and unscented lotion, and like I said, just keeping it clean is the most important thing. I've had a few clients, they tattoo them, and the next day I see on like Instagram or Facebook that they're like in the Spokane River, and then they'll like come back like, hey, this tattoo didn't heal that great. And it's like, well, I saw that you were in the river the day after I just did that tattoo, so in the Spokane River,
oh God,
you don't want to touch that water. It's beautiful, but you don't want to go in it.
Definitely. Have you seen some pretty nasty infections like with tattoos or?
Yeah, I've never had an infection like in any of my tattoos or any tattoos that I've done, but I've seen people come in and they got tattooed somewhere else. I don't know where, but and they're like, hey, does this look normal? And I'll look at it. I'm like, oh, geez, no, that's pretty bad. I'm like, well, it's been like this for like a month. I'm like, oh my God. I was like, you need to go to your doctor or the hospital. Shit's fucked up.
I've never seen anything too bad in person, but there have been nights where I've just been searching on the internet for just gory shit, and I've seen some pretty awful infected tattoos.
Yeah, they look nasty. Very nasty.
But a lot of them, the quality to begin with looks like something that was done in either a bathroom or a kitchen, so I'm not expecting hygiene to be up to par.
Right, and that's usually what it is, too. It's usually somebody got them down out of a house, by someone that's not out of a shop or anything like that, and probably reusing needles and it's just, gross. No gloves. No
clipcord cover.
Nothing.
So yeah, that's another great point to bring up, that shop hygiene when you're initially getting the tattoo is really important, as is making sure that you're being responsible and keeping the tattoo clean after you've gotten it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I make sure even when I'm setting my station up, I wear gloves, change the gloves pretty consistently. I'm very mindful of cross-contamination.
Like I said on the first episode, the shop's cleaner than the clinic I got my wisdom teeth taken out at. Yeah. So what advice would you give for the apprentice who's kind of wrapping up their apprenticeship and they're about to sit down and tattoo an actual human being for the first time?
Take your time. Be very clean. Let the client know where you're at in your career. Don't be a fucking rock star and say like, Yeah, I'm the best in the shop and blah, 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 the first handful of tattoos I did, I always like hit the client up a few days after, like, hey, how's that tattoo healing up? If you want to swing to the shop, let me take a look at it, see how it's doing. Take your time. Don't rush. I mean, nobody should ever rush to a tattoo anyway, but especially when you're just learning, it's going to take longer for even a simple tattoo. And then my tattoos take longer than, I've only been doing it for 3 years out of my apprenticeship. Obviously not the fastest.
It's quality work.
But yeah, I take my time. And
even then, just kind of off the top of my head, since you've been tattooing for a while, like even when you go get tattooed, do you feel like when the artist is tattooing you, like can you kind of feel how their technique's different than yours, like while they're doing it?
Not really, unless I can watch them do it. But I mean, all the places I really have left, I can't watch. I can't see what the artist is doing. When you're getting tattooed and you're getting tattooed in one spot, but it feels like you're getting tattooed
like higher,
or
totally.
a few inches like away from the actual spot that's being tattooed. So it's kind of hard to gauge what really what they're doing. I mean, I know if they're lining, they're lining, if they're shading, they're shading, or color packing. But to see the actual technique or to feel the technique is difficult. If I'm at the shop and, a couple of people are tattooing, I'll walk around and just watch and just see different techniques and stuff, especially when Christian's there.
Christian is always very fun to watch.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone kind of like yourself the day after your 18th birthday, sitting down for their first shop tattoo?
Just be 100% sure on what you want. Definitely listen to the artist. Don't be a know-it-all. Don't walk in and say, no, this is how it's done, or this is how it's supposed to be.
I saw this on Ink Masters.
Eat a meal before you go get tattooed. Try not to drink the night before. Don't do meth.
Don't do meth. That's always rock solid advice. All right.
On your first tattoo. Your second tattoo, you can do whatever you want.
Okay, there we go. I mean, this Molotov, I'm pretty sure I was shooting up into it. That's why it didn't heal. So
Yeah.
The area of my arm that's in moves a lot, so the skin kind of stretched. I'm not shooting up. All right, and well, thank you so much for returning for this interview.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, of course. Real quick, do you want to shout out anyone while you're here? Anyone who might be listening to the show? Any artists you admire? Anything like that?
Oh man, just Getty, Luke, any artist.
I really hope Getty and Luke are listening.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey.
What was your first tattoo?
My first tattoo?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I guess I haven't talked about it yet. So it was so dumb. It was a trigger from like a 357 inside of a gear, and it was to symbolize control, right?
Oh, okay.
And yeah, I got it done when I was 18, like a month after. And it was, I didn't get it done in Pendleton, thank God. I had it done in Walla Walla at, let's see, Tatmandu. Yeah.
Tatmandu. Cool.
Tatmandu and Walla Walla. Yeah, it was. And I mean, it was exactly what I wanted. But it turns out I really can't fucking design a tattoo. Or at least then I had no idea what tattoos should be.
Right.
And yeah, I didn't even really draw it up. It was Photoshop, so I just took photos and kind of, compiled them together. It was exactly what I wanted, but I didn't really pay attention to the aftercare because I was like, fuck it, I've seen plenty of tattoos that look fine.
Right.
But no, aftercare is very important.
There is another thing for people getting their first tattoo, is if you have a design that you want and you bring in, a lot of people will try to cram a whole bunch of stuff into a small area, and then the artist would be like, hey, this needs to be, you can have this, but it needs to be way bigger. Be flexible for that. Either if you want it smaller, you can take some stuff out, or if you want all that stuff in there, it's going to be bigger. You don't want to cram 10 things into a 5x5 area. So yeah, like I said, definitely listen to your artist. They know best.
Okay, and then just kind of going off on that, because the artist does know best, have you ever had people come in with a design that, even if it's not super jam-packed, just stylistically doesn't work all that well, that you've wanted to try to fix?
Yeah, I've had one client, she brought in, it was just a couple flowers and a butterfly and a bumblebee. She wanted it pretty small, kind of wrist to mid-forearm area, but the style that she wanted was super abstracty, sketchy, and just black. And I was like, man, doing this size, doing that small, over time, this is gonna really blur together and be unreadable. So let's make it a little bit bigger. Let's do your forearm, your whole forearm, and do something like that. And she was like, no, I can't do that. I was like, well, let's take a flower out and the bee out, or the butterfly out, and she's like, no. And I was like, well, it's just not gonna look good after a while. We ended up doing it bigger, but she messaged me and then wrote a review on the shop thanking me for talking her into going bigger, so it was going to look good forever and being informative.
I mean, bold will hold like that.
Right.
Yeah, no, definitely go big or go home.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, hey, Cam, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Really appreciate your time and all that wisdom you've shared with us.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, that's our show. Thanks for listening. Thanks again to everyone I was able to interview for the show. Thanks for putting up with some of the weird edits on those interviews. I know the intros and outros aren't really consistent, so if you picked up on that, you're not crazy. No, they're definitely not consistent. I'm still just trying to figure out some stuff stylistically, so I'm just trying it out, comparing, contrasting, so thanks for putting up with that. This episode comes less than 48 hours into the year 2020, and I'm really excited to see where all of this goes. 2019, all in all, was pretty good. I had to say goodbye to a couple friends, but I made some new ones as well. Finally left the West Coast, got to see Chicago and New Orleans, so thanks, Loran. I ended up scoring 1 film and 2 modeling gigs by pure coincidence, and that was really cool. I gave up liquor and started this podcast. Those two weren't really related, but they're both a lot of work. The podcast is officially on all the major platforms. If you have smart devices in your home, you can go ahead and just say, Alexa, play the Ex-Girlfriend Tattoo podcast. Or if you have the other one, okay, Google, play the Ex-Girlfriend Tattoo podcast. Usually works out pretty well. Please don't be afraid to reach out and let me know what you think of the show. We're on Facebook and Instagram, or if you just want to go ahead and fire off an email, it's exgirlfriendtattoo@gmail.com, all one word. Thanks for checking us out. Hope you've enjoyed. Okay, I lied. Here's an interview with our favorite Floridian. All right, this is the Ex-Girlfriend Tattoo Podcast. I'm Austin Larson. I'm here in beautiful Browns Edition. I'm joined by my guest, Loran.
Hey there.
All right, thank you. All right, Loran, just jumping right into it. How many tattoos do you have right now?
15, I think.
Okay, nice. I dig it. Would you consider yourself raised around tattoos, tattooing, the tattoo culture?
Most definitely not.
Okay.
In any way, shape, or form.
Okay. Definitely something you kind of found as an adult. I feel that. All right. So what was your first tattoo?
It is the littlest star and music note humanly possible on my foot.
Okay. Very nice. I feel it. Yeah, just tell me about that.
So it was a ex-boyfriend bought it for me as our first Christmas present together. And we went with his best friend is getting like some memorial tattoo for his mom. And they're like, you want to get a tattoo? I was like, I guess. So pretty much very spur of the moment. Worth it, I guess, but very spur of the moment.
Oh, hell yeah. There you go. Okay, so what kind of reactions did you get to that tattoo right after you got it?
I hid it from my mom for a good, 3 months. And we're going to the beach one day, and she looked down at my foot. She's like, what's that? And I was like, that's a tattoo. And she's like, no, you didn't. And I was like, sorry? She's definitely not the biggest fan of tattoos. So... friends, everybody else had one, so I finally fit in, but mom's definitely not. No go.
Hey, it happens. All right, I feel that. So it is a pretty simplistic design, pretty easy to recognize, but has it gotten mistaken for anything else?
No, thank goodness. It's faded pretty big, because it's 11, 12 years old now. But it's pretty much still a little star and music note. Thank goodness.
Okay. So that first tattoo, what you imagine the pain being like beforehand versus what it actually was like. Was the pain as severe as you thought it was before you got it?
I mean, I heard it wasn't as bad as getting a shot needle, so I wasn't expecting the worst. But it is my foot, and it's slightly shaded, but I didn't cry, so I thought that was a win.
Hey, there you go. You didn't cry. It's always a big one. Okay, let's see. So you said that this was something that an ex-boyfriend bought for you. Yeah. Besides that, would you say you have any ex-girlfriend tattoos?
No, I have a matching tattoo with a best friend that's kind of iffy at the moment, but other than that.
Okay, there you go. So that's your only ex-girlfriend tattoo.
Yeah.
Nice. There you go. All right, and so just in those few weeks after you got the tattoo, how long did it take you to get used to seeing it? Just oh, hey, there's a tattoo there.
It was definitely kind of weird, especially in the shower, getting off and drying off. I'm like, oh shit, that's actually there. The more I've gotten, it's still on my thighs and stuff. I'll go to the bathroom and sit down and I'm like, oh, that's a thing that's been there for like 3 years, but I totally forgot about it.
Okay, I feel it. Let's see. Real quick here. Would you say that you regret that tattoo?
I mean, I wish I would have got something different, but the experience is a fun memory still, so.
Okay, awesome. I totally feel that. So what's one piece of advice you would give yourself just, let's say, an hour before you got that first tattoo?
An hour before, just your first one ever. Make sure you eat. For the love of God, eat. Go with somebody. I think it's easier if you go with somebody, not going by yourself. You need that moral support, I guess. That's about it, I guess. It's not going to be as bad as you think it's going to be.
Hey, definitely. What would you say is the biggest lesson that you've learned from getting that first tattoo?
The lesson I've learned? People don't stick around for forever, I guess, tied to it. The whole experience of going with him. But, I mean, it definitely made me want to get more, so it wasn't that bad, so.
All right.
Definitely addictive.
Well, there you go. All right. Loran, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for everything. Thank you for appearing on my show.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
All right, Loran.